Hi guys, and welcome back to your podcast F the Noise with your host Lauren Fiorenza Gill. It is so good to have you guys here for episode 3. I keep doing these pinch me moments where I'm like, how are we already here? I couldn't be more grateful to have each and every one of you who are listening as part of this F the Noise cancer community. I feel so honored and blessed to bring you this podcast. It's just a very exciting time for us to all join together and reshape how we talk about cancer. So jumping right in, as you've probably seen from the title, today's podcast is all about hair loss and losing my hair at the age of 24. And we're going to go through the motions. We're going to go through the journey of, finding out that was even an option, even a side effect, a symptom of, the chemotherapy that I undertook, because I genuinely believed that when I heard the word chemotherapy, that I would even have like a 50-50 chance of being able to keep my hair. So when I was 24, I just remember thinking that my hair defined who I was as a person. And I say it in that way because now sitting here being a 30-year-old woman, having gone through hair loss and this like rebirth after cancer, I now realize it's not. But when I was 24, my hair was my safety blanket. It was the thing that I would touch if I was nervous or like flick to one side. It was right down my back. I used to go into the hairdresser and say, I want 2 inches off and that's it. That's how protective I was over my hair. And so given this super strong personal attachment that I have with my hair and how it was what decided my self-identity, I genuinely believe when I was told I had cancer and I had to do chemo, that there'd at least be an option for me to keep my hair. There'd at least be, this 50-50, you could do maybe a cold cap and then see how it goes and you might be able to keep some of your hair. I genuinely believed with every fiber of my being that there'd be a way I could keep my hair. And boy, oh boy, I couldn't have been more wrong. And so the first time I was told that I wouldn't be able to have an option to save my hair and that I was pretty much 100% going to lose my hair was when I had the conversation about chemotherapy with my consultant and my nurse. And I just remember sitting in that meeting and it was very overwhelming. We spoke about fertility, which I spoke about in the last episode, and we spoke about the different types of chemo available to me. And I just remember sitting there and just waiting. The only question that I had in that whole meeting going in was, will I be able to save my hair? Will I be able to not lose my hair? And that's all I cared about. I walked in that meeting and I don't care what anyone else said. Let's pick the chemo. Let's sort it out. Can I keep my hair and can I save it? And I just remember my nurse, who's obviously had this question a million times, just turned to me when I asked her, is there an option to keep my hair in any of these chemo options? Just go, no. And I said, but what about the cold cap? I'd done all this research into different ways I could like keep hold of my hair. And she went, that's not an option for you. The chemo that you've chosen is B-COP and it's too strong. And you can try the cold cap, but it's not going to do anything. Like, you will lose your hair. And I just remember this pit falling down to the bottom of my stomach, knowing that I could like lose what was at the time the thing that made me feel me. Like losing my hair made me feel like I was going to say goodbye to my identity. And that can sound crazy to some people, but honestly, you don't know until you're in it. And I didn't know I would expect that feeling until I had no option to keep my hair. And so that was it. There was no really other conversation around it. I guess what I kind of expected in that conversation was like, okay, you're going to lose your hair. We know that's the inevitable and it's a really hard blow and I understand where you're coming from. But also, have you seen the cool wigs that you can get? Which is what I know now after doing my own research. But I just wish that conversation hadn't ended on, yeah, you're going to lose your hair and there's nothing you can do about it. Because it really felt dark and it really felt heavy and it really affected me physically, mentally, emotionally, because I just didn't want to do that. And I knew I would have no choice, but I had to go through chemo to get rid of my cancer. So I left feeling really sad and really down and really shocked. And, it's at the time when it's back in 2019 when not many people are talking about well, not many people who I follow are talking about hair loss, and I didn't know what I knew now, which is that you'd have amazing wig companies. You could get real hair wigs that look like your old hair, and I did, and I found one that literally looked like my hair at this length, and boy oh boy did I rinse it when I was bald. Like, I would grasp for anything that felt like me at the time. And so basically I took this information away, I tried to process it, I was really upset. I then took to Pinterest, as a young girl does, and I started looking up celebrities with no hair. And you know, the first people that came on my feed, it was Sinead O'Connor, who looked amazing. And I think it was the lady, is it Demi Moore? I think she had a shaved head at the time. And I just remember thinking, God, they rock it. And I actually don't remember if they lost their hair due to an illness, like what would have happened to myself, or if it was a conscious decision. And I just remember thinking, okay, this isn't the end. Like, they look pretty cool actually, and maybe I could look cool. So I kind of made this like Pinterest board of like people with shaved heads, and that really helped me visualize that actually celebs do it, so I'm not the first one to go through this. And so from being told that I would lose my hair to starting chemo, I actually had a couple of weeks to do my fertility treatment. And so I had a few weeks to reflect on how I could take control over what I couldn't take control over. So how I could take control over the inevitable of losing my hair. So I started doing some research, and then I found the Prince's Trust. Obviously I had a lot of hair, so I didn't just want to throw it in the bin. I just thought, what can I do with it? Somewhere, somehow, someone would need this or could use this amount of hair. So I found the Prince's Trust, and I made the biggest decision at the time. It felt like a mountain of a decision, to cut my hair into a bob. So to ease the blow, bearing in mind, like I said, I only had a few inches off every time I went to the hairdresser before this, I was going to get my hair cut into a bob. And so to kind of set that fire off in my belly, find the passion and romanticize in a way doing this thing of cutting my hair into a bob and me making that decision, I then found more Pinterest of people with bobs. And I was like, I could do this. I like it. I think bobs were really in trend at that time, so it wasn't hard to find a lot of people with bobs and how to style them. So I went to my hairdressers. I got it cut in a bob. We did the tying of the hair in a little hair bubble. And then I posted it to the Prince's Trust. And the moment of cutting my hair, the first time I'd cut it like that, I remember my hairdresser holding my pony and just going, shh, like literally cutting off, and it just felt amazing. And I felt like a new version of myself. I felt really empowered because it was me making that decision, not the cancer. And I really liked it. I really thought that it was like a rocking look, and I embraced it. And I sent the parcel off to the Prince's Trust and got a really nice letter back. And it's just one of those things that makes you feel super empowered. And you know, you don't even have to go through chemo and cancer to cut your hair into a bob. Like my friend Gabriella, she did it. She wanted to do good with her hair, and so she sent it off, and I was so proud of her. And so anyone can really do it. If you fancy a change, just save the hair and send it off. Some little child could actually really do with your hair being turned into a beautiful wig. It does make you feel this like really wholesome, warm feeling when you do it. And yeah, like I say, you feel quite bold and courageous, and then you find this new style. And so I had this opportunity to live with this new like 24-year-old Lauren with the bob for about 3 weeks before I started chemo, and it just felt really great. And then, to be honest, the journey after that with the hair loss was so unpredictable. You couldn't write a timeline specifically for it. I did ask my nurse and say, can you just tell me roughly like when the hair loss will start? And she goes, look, it does depend on each person. But with the BCOP chemotherapy that you're having to treat your stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma, it happens usually around phase 2, cycle 2. So if you want to learn about the cycles of the chemo that I had, you can go to the very first episode that I did, and I talk about the different cycles and the phases. Basically, I decided to take control of the hair loss prior to phase 2 and after the bob. So I was like, okay, I'm in round 1, you know, everything's very new. I'm feeling these side effects of the chemo, but I'm still remembering my hair and my identity. And that is one thing that cancer will not control, and I will take control of that. And so I remember going back to the salon the week of my first chemo and just getting like, again, like Pinterest is amazing for this, guys. Like if you are looking on how to ease the blow of losing your hair, Pinterest is such a good forum because it shows you different people with different types of hairstyles. You know, people that have got shaved heads who haven't got cancer and want to do it because it looks great, or, you know, people that were born with no hair. These most empowered, powerful, inspiring people with different phases and different styles of hair. It just really helped me just feel like, yeah, I got this. Like, I can see myself with this. So I was in Bob's stage. I went to the hairdressers and I basically got them to do like, I think it was like short sides. And this is totally Rihanna inspired. Thank you, Rihanna, for doing this phase because you really helped me. It was like short sides and it was quite short, but there was a bit of hair on the sides. And then there's this one photo of Rihanna, and this is exactly what I wanted to imitate. And it's like long on the top. So it's like a long kind of, if you're a big Ree fan, you'll know. It's like this like long curly hair at the front. And so that was it. So I had short sides and a little bit of hair to play with at the front and style and curl or straighten or whatever. So that was really short for me because then I've got no hair really below my neck, which is weird. But it also, again, felt empowering because it was me making that decision. So the short back and sides and the long top was the style that I had for my first round of chemo. And then I had that same style again. It's kind of long quiffy at the front for my second round of chemo. And the nurse was right. I did actually experience hair loss in that second round. And speaking about it now is really weird. I was in a ward. It was first thing in the morning. I was feeling quite good, to be honest. It was a good day. And I just remember like putting my hand through my hair and just instead of the hair resisting, you know, when you pull your hair and it resists because it's obviously in your scalp, it just followed my hand down. And then just a big chunk came out. And I had this like, holy, this is actually happening. Like hair loss is happening. And I am not, and I refuse to keep pulling the rest of my hair out because I can't imagine, and I take my hat off to people that have decided to lose it naturally without cutting it shorter in phases before, because that would be super traumatizing for me personally. And so I just made the decision there and then to put my cap on, to hold the hair on my head, literally hold it on my head so I didn't see any more falling out. Really calmly decided to own this. So I took control. So after pulling the first strand of my hair out, I decided that I am going to take control of my hair literally falling out of my head right now. And I will not allow it to happen by itself. Like, I'm going to put a cap on, text my friend who's a barber, tell her and ask the nurses if she can come into the ward right now to literally shave my hair off. And the nurses said, fully appreciate what you want to do, and yes, you can get her in. And so that's what I did. I text my mum, I text my sister, I text my friends before she came. I was like, guys, it's happening, hair loss is happening. And I just refused to pull any more out because that first strand was pretty traumatizing, just feeling it just drop from my head. And so she came over, bless her, at lunchtime with a barber kit, and she shaved my whole hair off. And I have never to this day felt more empowered than I did in that moment when I made the decision to shave my whole hair off before I lost all of it. And taking that step and saying I'm in control, even though I'm technically not because my hair's already starting to fall out, was the best thing I could have done, because you save the trauma of waking up and seeing all your hair everywhere and pulling it out in the shower. Like, and I take my hat off to people who have experienced that, because you guys are amazing for going through that as well as chemo. Like, I really respect anyone who's been through that. And I guess everyone has the different journey with it, but for me, I just felt empowered. And so after she shaved my hair, I literally opened the doors and I stepped outside, and I just remember the sun being on my face. It was a really nice like day, and I could feel the heat directly on my scalp, and I could feel the breeze of the wind on my scalp. And I just remember feeling so empowered and so present and grounded that I had made a decision to lose my hair and shave it off. It was the best thing I ever did. So if you are going through chemo or going through diagnosis or worrying about hair loss, just take a moment to think, how can you empower yourself and take control of it? Because you can. And there is certain ways, like having a bob, cutting it shorter, shaving it off before you start chemo. Like, there's certain things that you can do to take control over hair loss. And I really have been looking forward to talking about this on this podcast, because you know, what could have been traumatic actually was one of the most empowering experiences of my life. And I'm going to save hair growth specifically for its own episode, because you can imagine how broad that subject is. But what I will talk about now is the kind of things that I did to maintain a healthy scalp and nurture the scalp directly to promote hair growth. And my hair grew back, I think it was like 4 to 6 months after I finished my last round of chemo. And like I say, we'll save that for a different podcast, and we'll also save wigs for another podcast as well, because that was a different journey in like finding myself again. It was a lot deeper than just shoving the wig on and going, hey. I actually found different parts of myself and experimented so much that I want to talk about that in a different podcast, because there's other ways that you can empower yourself as a bold human being with wigs. And I just think it's such a special podcast to talk about. So we can talk about that in a different one. One other thing that I wanted to touch on in this episode is, who is going to tell me that I was going to lose my nose hair? I lost the hair on my head. I knew that was something that could happen. But like, guys, no one told me that I was going to lose my nostril hair, my eyebrows, my eyelashes. No one prepared me for that. Do you know how weird it is to not have nostril hair? Like, I can't help but crack up when I think about this, but it's cold. Your nose runs every 2 seconds. It is so breezy inside and so empty inside your nostril. It is the weirdest sensation. And I just wish someone told me about that, because boy, oh boy, I was not prepared for that. And also losing my eyelashes and my eyebrows. No one really prepared me for that either. When we were talking about hair loss with my nurse, I kind of would have liked it if she had said, by the way, you'll lose your nostril hair, your eyebrows and your lashes. At least I could have prepared for it. It was a very weird sensation. Losing my eyebrows and my lashes together, I really suffered almost more than I suffered when I'd lost my hair on my head, because when you lose the hair on your head, you've got a wig, right? You can cover it up, you can put a headscarf on, you really can like disguise it with the real hair wigs nowadays. They're such good quality. But the one thing I really suffered with was losing my eyebrows and my lashes, because one of the things for me that was the biggest thing was self-identity. And I really, as silly as it sounds, didn't want to look like someone with cancer. And if I could do anything to not make me look like that, I would have. So I got wigs, I got headscarves. But then when I lost my eyebrows and my lashes, I didn't know, and I didn't have a plan of how I could cover that up, because then to me, it looked like I was someone who had cancer. And there is nothing wrong with that. But, everyone's level of confidence is different. Some people can go out and rock that, and I really wasn't in the mental frame to go out and do that. And so I just stayed home for quite a lot of the time, until I then took to social media and did some research. There's eyelash brands that are made for people going through chemotherapy. I had no idea about this. It's like an eyeliner and a fake lash that you just stick on your eyelid, and it makes you look like you've got lashes. How insane is that? It's amazing. And then, you can draw your brows on. I never touched my brows before I lost my eyebrows, because they were big, they were fluffy, and to be quite frank, I didn't know how to do it in a way which didn't make it look like a box. And so I had to learn. It's about rediscovering yourself in every phase of your life, trying different brow techniques, going to a makeup artist. I'll talk about skincare and products in a different episode, because your skin gets very sensitive, as we know, when you go through chemo. And I know some amazing tricks and brands that help me and my skin stay really strong and good and not sensitive. So we'll cover that in a different podcast. But I want to just finish this with talking about ways that I looked after my scalp to promote hair growth after cancer. And I can't say this is a one size fits all, because I'm half Indian. My hair naturally grows really fast and thick. It's just the Indian gene in me. I did some research, and I think I can help with different advice and different products. So what I did is I really was mindful to not use any shampoos and conditioners with like lots of chemicals in. My dad and stepmom actually found this out. There's different brands that have actually tailored their products to people going through hair loss and going through chemo. So I wanted to share my top 3 tips if you've lost your hair due to chemo like I did. Tip number 1 is the Holy Grail duo. This is Philip Kingsley's No Scent, No Colour duo with shampoo and conditioner. So this product was suggested by my stepmom and my dad, and they did some research and found that this product is perfect for people like myself who lost their hair due to chemotherapy. It has no scents, it has no odors, it has no color. It is purely the ingredients to help nourish and moisturize your scalp. So I highly recommend this product. If you are feeling like you've got a sensitive scalp, if it's itchy after wearing wigs, it's perfect. Tip number 2 is Grow Gorgeous's hair oil. This is what I purchased at the beginning of my hair loss journey. I'd seen it all over Instagram, and to be honest, it smells amazing. It makes your scalp feel really hydrated, and you can almost create a ritual from applying it to your scalp. And the way I applied the hair oil almost became like a ritual. It would be part of my self-care routine. I'd moisturize my face and then moisturize and nourish my scalp with the hair oil. So highly recommend that one. And the third and final tip is super simple, and I think people really overcomplicate and put too much on their scalp when they've lost their hair, is to not do too much. Let your scalp get air, let your scalp get oxygen. You know, I know how challenging it is to go out in public with being bald. You know, it took me a very long time during my chemotherapy treatment to even be comfortable with that, and it was actually quite rare that I did do that, because I just didn't want to be seen as someone who looks like they have cancer, let alone feel it inside. But I will say, if you've got a garden, or you know, the window, or whatever, you've got a house where you're super comfortable, like just walk around without anything on your head, because it really is good for your scalp to get that oxygen and get that sunlight and vitamin D. If you think about it like skin, it needs that to flourish. So I would fully recommend trying to not overdo it when you have a bald head. If you do feel subconscious, what you can also do is just to give your scalp that break from, you know, the wig hair nets and stuff, just put a headscarf on. It looks really cool as well. It's very classic. You can choose different colors and styles. It just makes the scalp feel really soft and cared for and nice. So they're my top 3 tips if you are experiencing hair loss as part of your chemotherapy journey. But it's all about experimenting. This whole journey of chemo and losing your hair, whether it be your nostril hair or your hair on your head, is all about experiencing it and being present with it and sitting with it and feeling every emotion that each hair loss moment brings. You know, don't shove it under the rug, like really confront it and look at it and let yourself be sad and grieve the hair that you've lost, but then also realize that this is temporary and it's a moment in your life. And you know, whether your hair loss is something that's going to last forever, play around with different wigs, or really choose to just go out and embrace that bold look. Like I say, there's different areas of this journey with cancer and the things that it brings where you can really romanticize it. And that can only come after you've really felt those deep emotions that come with it. So I really hope this podcast has inspired people to take control over their hair loss. I hope it has made you feel more confident if you have lost your hair, that you can embrace it and you look amazing with it, and just think you are unique, and just go out and live that life boldly and proudly, because you're going through something really hard right now, and give yourself the love you need. If you've got any questions on hair loss, ask away as normal. Ask in the comments on the YouTube video, DM me. Love having you guys here. I can't wait to see you for the next episode. And as always, be kind and loving to yourself. Bye for now.